In today's video, we're going to be mixing drums, adding saturation, limiting, and a bunch of effects using these high-quality free plugins. And I really can't believe some of them are free. We're going to take those boring stock sounds and turn them into fat, sizzling samples. Hey, what's up everybody? It's Fabio here from Noise at Boombox, the home of collaboration. If you're looking to share or store your music, then go to the link in the description below and sign up to Boombox today and you'll get 4 GB for free. Some of the best parts about Boombox are that you can upload your files, create projects, quickly add collaborators, and then leave timestamp feedback and voice notes. You also have the ability to create professional playlists that you can share with whomever you like, whether you're sending them to a record label, a manager, your mum, or your pet dog. That's completely up to you. But they will receive something that looks better than anything else and be able to listen to it on a professional sounding and looking audio player. All right, let's turn these drums from flat to fat. We're going to be working on a set of drums that consist of kick, clap, and hat. Here are the dry versions without any processing. They're great samples, they're really tight, but for me, they're a little too clean and lack character. Now here are the processed drums. Now, when you listen to the drums with the backing sample, it makes sense. With the clean drums, they feel a little disconnected from the sample, which is dirty and filtered, but with the drums that have a lot more character, they blend together. So not only do they sound more unique, but they also work with the rest of the record. Have a listen to the unprocessed drums with the sample. And here they are with the processing. Okay, let's start with the kick. Now this is a free sub-filter plugin, which essentially adds low harmonics to things like kick and bass. But this will blow your head off if you're not careful, so let me show you how to set it up. Now I bring the low end all the way down to -10, tight punch to off, and then this will be on high. Turn it to low for now. You can always switch it to high or extreme, especially if you're dealing with like a kick or bass that really has no low end at all. But this kick already does. Check it out. Now what I'm going to do is just increase the tight punch until it bites on to the part of the kick where I want it to add those harmonics. So here at about 44 Hertz, and then I can increase or decrease the low end depending on how much more of that air I want in the low end. You see, if I add too much, it gets really thumpy really quickly. But it does make it a lot warmer and rounder sounding, which is the kind of style of kicks that I like, especially when making this type of track. Now, as we're adding effects, we will add some volume. I want to be able to control the volume and the character that we're adding fairly early on, so I'm going to use this limiter by kilohertz. Again, completely free, super easy to use. All I'm going to do is bring down the threshold, and then I'm also going to bring down the release so it's nice and fast. Now what's really cool about this limiter is that it's super transparent. You can see that even when we're reducing almost 10 decibels of gain reduction, there's no distortion at all. So you can even use this limiter for mastering if you want to, but in this scenario, I want to use a very transparent limiter on the kick because I'm not trying to add any character with any limiting or compression that I'm doing. I'm going to bring the release down as well because the kicks are very short and also there's a lot of them very tightly together. So I don't want any compression that's happening on a kick before a series of kicks to affect anything coming up. Flash is a really cool transient designer from Waves Factory. What I found was that when I increased the sustain on this dial here, that I was able to get a little more click and a little more release from the kick. Now I like that it brought up the clickiness of the kick, because even though I'm not looking to get a clean kick, I know that that's going to help cut through the mix when everything is playing all together. Last but not least, another kilohertz plugin. This is the Distortion plugin on overdrive mode. This is here to add character. So I've got the kick to where I want it to be, and now I actually want to make it dirty. Usually I go in that kind of order. So I go clean, find out exactly what I want, and then I dirty it up and see if that added character works with the rest of the drums, the rest of the track. The only thing I dislike about this plugin is that it doesn't have an output gain, and that can be really essential when you're doing your gain staging, what I was talking about before. You don't want the sound to increase or decrease in volume when you turn the effects on and off. You want it to be exactly the same, perceived volume. So you can hear that it's taking away some of the punch, but it's adding those harmonics in that saturation. It's already super, super, super punchy. So giving it a bit more tone and a bit more character is totally worth it. Now the snare didn't need much. This is another free plugin from Waves Factory called Snare Buzz, and it adds a bit of top end and a little bit of reverb. But what I found particularly cool about this plugin is that the reverb in the room is randomized. So it never sounds the same, and you can hear it when everything is playing all together, that it feels disjointed from the snare in this kind of unique way. And so we're adding a little bit of variation here, which means every snare or every reverb coming off the snare is slightly different. It's almost like it's sort of pitching up and down ever so slightly. And I know it's really, really, really subtle, but those subtle differences, I think, are what separate the sort of amateurs from the professionals. Now, I'll play around with this a little bit just to show you what the settings do. The tightness creates a longer sounding snare, and then the studio is this mic here, which picks up more or less of the room, essentially giving it more or less room reverb. Now for the hats, I started off with a sample delay. This isn't a free plugin, this is just the Logic plugin, but pretty much every DAW has one of these. This just means that they come in slightly later, so they come in slightly off the beat. Now if I play this with the metronome, you'll see what I mean. Making them lazy makes them a lot more interesting. If you make them too lazy, then you lose the rhythm completely, and it sounds like you're trying to make some sort of future jazz. I'll show you what I mean. What I found with these hats is that they're quite bright and fizzy. Now, a lot of people would normally just reach for an EQ and take out some of the high end like that, which can work sometimes, but I don't really like trying to make hats sound darker by using an EQ. So again, we're coming to kilohertz here. This is the Bit Crush plugin. And the way I use this is I reduce the sample rate by clicking on here and then dragging down. And eventually we'll hear a tonal change. It will get darker and darker and darker, and then almost to the point where it's completely crushed. And then I dial in this DACQ dial, which allows me to filter out more of those high frequencies. But I want to add back some characters. So I'm going back to the distortion by kilohertz, overdrive, pretty much the default settings. I've just brought the mix down and increased the spread. And this dirtiness will also match the kick samples. So again, I'm thinking about how all the samples work together. Now, one of my secret mixing tricks that I tend to do on all sampled hats is a pitch drift. Just bringing them in and out of pitch means, again, that they're slightly more random, and it stops them feeling so static and robotic. This is the pitch drift by Baby Audio, completely free. You can change the speed of the pitch drift by clicking and increasing and decreasing on here, and then the amount that it's affecting it. Do note that when you apply this pitch drift, it will automatically shave off some of the high frequencies, so you may need to compensate for that later on. Now, like I said, you may want to compensate for what's going on. I've done a low shelf here just because there are a lot of low frequencies added from the distortion, and I'm adding some air with this high shelf. Okay, now I'm going to flip back and forth from the processed to the unprocessed drums. So by using these incredible free plugins, we've been able to turn our clean stock sounds into something much more interesting that matches the vibe of the sample and the rest of the track. Don't forget that these videos are possible because of Boombox, so go to the link in the description below and sign up today for 4 GB for free. Welcome to Boombox, the home of collaboration and the new industry standard. It's been a pleasure as always, and I'll see you very soon. Peace!